The Packers look like the real deal right now. They're beating people up front on both sides of the ball. They're young. They're healthy. I think you can argue they're as good as any team in football right now.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Christmas Eve Power Rankings Tuesday. Just an FYI for the schedule this week. Still got the Power Rankings Tuesday today. Still have Even Money with Steve Fez morning as well. The change-ups are that on Wednesday on Christmas, we are going to do a Picks Wednesday because there's 2 games Wednesday, 1 Thursday, 3 Saturday. So instead of a Picks Friday, it'll be a Picks Wednesday. And instead, we'll have a special guest for Friday's show. Should have the GOAT, Greg Cosell, for Thursday. And we're going to have part 1 of the Fantasy Feast podcast today as well, since there's 2 important games tomorrow on Wednesday, including the game I'll be calling for Westwood One National Radio. It is the Chiefs at the Steelers. Pretty good chance I'll be able to pick the winners this week, so please spread the word via social media, at Ross Tucker Pod, at Ross Tucker NFL, or just rate and review the show. Apple Podcasts, that's an easy way to be a winner. Love those of you who take advantage of our sponsors, the Game Time app, getting a box from future fans, certainly going ahead to westshorehome.com/Ross. YouTube shout-outs, amazing, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Love sending you guys one of those cameo-style videos via email. Other than that, let's dive right into it. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross. Monday night's game really wasn't much of an entertaining one. The Packers, they dominate the Saints en route to a 34-0 shutout.
Don't see that very often in the NFL. Monday night recap, always presented by Labatt Blue Light. Drink some Labatt Blue Lights with your friends. Live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. Going down, by the way, after we record all these shows, Jack, going down to my sister's house in Rockville, Maryland for a couple hours. So I may have some Daddy Sodas, may have some Labatt Blue Lights myself. Very disappointing game last night, just from a competitive standpoint. It was 21-0. I felt like as fast as you could blink. I know Darren Rizzi, the interim head coach for the Saints, has done a nice job with them. You know, they've won a few games. They've been highly competitive in others. This was not the case last night. I don't even want to spend that much time on the game. The Saints were outmanned, right? Not only no Derek Carr, but Alvin Kamara didn't play. Who would have thought Marquez Valdes-Scantling would be as big of a loss for the Saints as it was? And on the other side, the Packers were utterly dominant, taking care of business. They look like one of the best teams in football. It is a Power Rankings Tuesday, so you'll hear how I have them moving up the charts in a little bit. It's not just because of last night, not just because of how they played against the Saints. They got Christian Watson banged up his knee last night, but they have a pretty healthy team. They have a young team still, and they are winning the battle up front, which is what I appreciate as much as anything else. I mean, they got pressure on Spencer Rattler. Felt like every time he dropped back to pass, the Saints couldn't run it at all. Packers felt like they could get 10 yards every play, felt like they could run it all over the Saints. Nobody really even stood out positively for the Saints. I guess maybe Kalen Saunders, the D tackle who had that sweet interception return in the Chiefs-Saints Monday night game earlier in the year I did on the radio. That's about it. I mean, other than that, it was mainly just the Packers kicking you-know-what. Other than the Lions game, the Packers defense has been playing very well. Now, they let the Lions torch them, but other than that, they've been playing very well. They spread the ball around. They run it well. They got a lot of weapons. They're all young on first contracts. I got a lot of respect for the way Brian Gutekunst has built this team. It was never in doubt, never close. First shutout of the season. It was a butt whooping.
It's time for the all-important Power Rankings. The worst team in the history of the NFL is...
All right, we move into our power rankings, Ross. 32nd, no surprise, New York Giants.
And at this point, I'm never really a believer in, you want to lose or, draft choice, especially this year when it doesn't feel like there's a consensus number one quarterback. But at this point for the Giants, it's been such a disaster that it almost feels like the only saving grace for their fans is that they're going to have the number one overall pick and either take whatever quarterback they think is best or maybe trade it to somebody else who is really, really high on one of these quarterbacks. It's kind of a shame because it seems like there's a bunch of good quarterbacks that are rookies now in this past year's draft class that would have been excellent. 3, 4, 5 of them are playing pretty darn well. We'll see whether or not the Giants can find one in this year's draft. But clearly, they play the Colts this week. Clearly, their fans at this point, getting the number one pick is really their only thing that is giving them any kind of hope.
31st is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You lose to the Raiders, you're going to be pretty low in the rankings, and that's exactly what the Jaguars did. I got to think, I'm a big fan of his personally, but when you get down this low in my power rankings, this late in the season, this is where a lot of changes are made, right? Usually, you got to talk about GMs and head coaches, quarterbacks, coordinators. Usually when you're this low in my power rankings, they don't just stick with the status quo for the next year.
30th, Tennessee Titans.
Well, I was about to say that they really, really laid down in that game against the Colts because it was a thoroughly disappointing performance for them. I would say quarters 2 and 3. Quarter 1, I thought they played 2 and 3, the way they were getting run over. But I think it says a lot about their leadership. It says a lot about Brian Callahan that they continued to battle in the fourth quarter. Got all the way down to one score, and had a chance if they had gotten the 3 and out to get the ball back and maybe tie it up. So at least the Titans showed in that game that they were still battling.
29th, Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, they got competent quarterback play from Aiden O'Connell. They have a star rookie tight end in Brock Bowers. They are someone that's going to draft a quarterback high. That's what you look down here, Giants, Titans, Raiders are among teams that you would expect to be in the quarterback market, either drafting one high or going ahead and maybe trying to get a guy like Sam Darnold.
28th is the Chicago Bears.
Wow. Weren't they like 5-2 at one point? Or they were, a Hail Mary away from being 5-2? Just an absolute disastrous collapse for the Bears. And I think obviously they're going to get a new head coach. It sounds like they're going to stick with Ryan Poles as their GM, which I'm okay with. It really comes down to the coach, but also I think it's fair to start to wonder what exactly they have in Caleb Williams. I think he can be better with a different coach, and we'll see how much better, but he just hasn't looked like these other guys have looked to me. And those other guys being, in particular, Jaden Daniels and Drake May, but also to some extent Bo Nix. He hasn't even looked that good.
27th is the Cleveland Browns.
We'll see what they do at quarterback this week. DTR got banged up last week. It's been an extremely disappointing season for them as well. I guess everybody down here. Myles Garrett now saying he's not looking for a rebuild. He wants to know what the plan is, in particular at quarterback moving forward. And I don't blame him. He's been fantastic for so long. They need to figure out what they're going to do. I don't think from a roster standpoint they're that far away. I think obviously quarterback's the big one.
26th is the New York Jets.
They've been at least more competitive in recent weeks than some of these other teams. You know, they did get a win down in Jacksonville. They've been more competitive than a lot of these other teams. So they're like, I don't know if respectable is the word, but they've at least been putting forth, you know, commendable performances.
25th, New England Patriots.
That man, I haven't finished watching that tape yet because it's only Tuesday morning, and I had to watch the Steelers, Ravens, and Chiefs, Texans. But you think about a couple plays in that game against the Bills, the Patriots could have had one of the biggest upsets of the season. You know, winning at Buffalo, that would have been gigantic and would have sent shockwaves throughout the NFL. They weren't able to get it done. Very much looking forward to seeing, though, if they can build on that performance against a good Chargers team. I'm expecting it to be a really competitive, close, fun game.
24th is the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, when the Saints come marching in. Somebody emailed me, by the way, and said, nobody listens to hear you sing. I always think that's funny. Like, okay. I mean, a lot of other people laugh at it, smile to themselves, think they like it. I think what's funnier to me about that is like that you would take the time out of your day to email me that. I mean, boy, that says something about something. But you know what? All feedback is welcome. I've got thick skin, doesn't bother me. They don't pay me for my singing voice. Very, very bad performance by the Saints. There's no way around it. We'll see whether or not Rizzy can get them to be competitive the last 2 weeks.
23rd is the Niners.
Man, add them to the list of teams I didn't think it would be down here. I guess that's probably every year, right? Like, we can talk about how many teams are better than I thought they would be, but for the most part, it seems like there's more teams end up being worse than I thought they would be. It's a lost year for the Niners. Any talk of moving on from Kyle Shanahan, to me, is foolish. I would be surprised if the Niners don't bounce back in a major way next year.
22nd is the Carolina Panthers.
I guess I think you could say the Panthers are higher than I thought they'd be. Kudos to Dave Canales, their head coach, Dan Morgan, their GM, and Bryce Young, their quarterback. I mean, those guys they got a big win over the Cardinals. With the exception of that weird Cowboys game a couple weeks ago, I feel like the Panthers have put forth a very reputable performance, unlike some of these other teams. And I'd feel pretty decent about them. You know, think about some of the injuries. They didn't have Derek Brown this year. If I'm a Panthers fan, I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I think we got a shot to be legit competitive next year, like battle for a wild card spot. Maybe even in that division, maybe the division title.
21st is the Indianapolis Colts.
So it's like they won't get credit for this if they finish 9-8, but your record is what your record is. You are what your record says you are. And, you know, now they play the Giants and the Jags. It's like people will forget, oh, yeah, but their schedule is easy. Yeah, but like that means it was harder earlier. So if the Colts get 2 more wins, which is very possible, finish 9-8, even if they don't make the playoffs, it's a really solid season and a season that could get you in the playoffs a lot of other years. All right, so Jack, we got the West Shore upgrade coming up a little bit later. I think you might be surprised by my biggest upgrade this week, but you should upgrade everything going on in your house thanks to West Shore. Look, it's the end of the year, right? Let's be logical here. They're looking to reduce inventory. They were already offering you guys 25% off of the bath remodel or the shower or the doors or the windows. Now they're going to take an additional $2,000 off all shower and bath projects, but only if you schedule your appointment by New Year's Eve. You're home anyway. You're off of work or off of school anyway. Go to westshorehome.com/Ross and you can get an extra $1,000 off. So you're getting 25% off plus $2,000 plus $1,000. That's $3,000 plus 25% off. No obligation, but you got to get your free no obligation quote by New Year's Eve. westshorehome.com/Ross. We got an awesome week to drink some Smirnoff cocktails and enjoy football. How about Christmas Eve? Christmas, we got 2 games, including the game I'm calling. Thursday night, Saturday, Sunday. Guess what? Smirnoff and the NFL are with you every step of the way. Smirnoff is the world's #1 vodka. Plus, they are an official vodka partner of the NFL. This holiday season, when you're enjoying the game and your cocktails, please make sure to drink responsibly. Take a minute, make a plan, never drive impaired. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff #21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. Smirnoff, we do game days.
20th is the Atlanta Falcons.
So they clearly were a better team with Michael Penix Jr., and now that sets up an incredible Sunday night game with Penix Jr. against Jaden Daniels in a game that the Falcons absolutely have to have. And they just look better, right? He can move a little bit more. He threw the ball downfield a little bit more. I don't really know what happened with Kirk Cousins. That'll be one of the major offseason topics, is more or less what the Falcons do with Cousins. I mean, they're going to trade him, or no, they're going to cut him because he won't accept the trade. But which team is going to say, we're going to give Cousins a shot? That's our guy. I think there'll be more than you think.
19th is the Dallas Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys? They've played really well. I think they've won, 4 out of 5 or something? The only loss might have been that Monday nighter to the Bengals that went back and forth, but they've played very well in recent weeks. I give them a lot of credit. Mike McCarthy deserves a lot of credit. You know, they kind of know who they are. Cooper Rush is a very competent backup quarterback. They run the ball better now with Dowdle, and obviously the defense with Micah has played much, much better.
18th is the Arizona Cardinals.
Disappointing loss for them, right? I mean, I think they had a chance to finish with 10 wins, chance to finish the season strong, and at least a chance to stay in the mix. You know, you'd like to think if you're the Arizona Cardinals that you can beat a team like Carolina. They were not able to do so. I know Jonathan Gannon said, you know, it's on him. I think that's tough. I think that's really tough that they weren't able to win more of these games down at the end to really be able to feel good about things and finish strong.
17th is the Cincinnati Bengals.
They're moving up, man. And I don't think they control their own destiny, but they do have a heck of a chance to finish strong and make a statement with a win over the Broncos. I wouldn't be surprised if they win that game at all. Not at all. I think the Bengals, they're kind of like the Cowboys and the other teams. They're playing really good football down the stretch here. And it's a shame. There's a decent chance it'll end up being too little too late.
16th is the Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1. So the Miami Dolphins also are trying to finish strong, also trying to finish with a winning record, also hoping the Patriots beat the Chargers. So you can't blame it all on Tua because they've lost several games with him back, but it is one of those seasons that you wonder what would have happened. Like, I doubt they would have lost that home game to the Titans on Monday Night Football if they still had Tua in that game.
15th is the Bucks.
Tough loss for the Bucks. Really tough loss. Now they got to root for other teams like the Commanders. And it's funny because you just feel like the Bucks are a pretty good team and the Bucks could win playoff games. Certainly it feels like they're a better team than the Falcons are right now, but they no longer control their chances. I don't know if I picture the Falcons going to Washington and winning, but Washington might have a letdown after that big win over the Eagles.
14th is the Seattle Seahawks.
Disappointed the way they've kind of faltered here at the end. They're done with their home games, and they were 3-6 at home this year. You know, for all this talk over the years of the 12th man and all that stuff, 3-6 at home is certainly not what you're looking for.
13th, Houston Texans.
So I think the bigger loss than the game was losing Tank Dell in that game against the Chiefs. They already have clinched, being able to win the AFC South. Although they did, programming note, they did pick up Deontay Johnson off of waivers from the Ravens. So we'll see whether or not they can get him in the fold quickly in the mix. He's obviously a very talented guy, which gives them a chance in these playoff games. Can't just be Nico Collins. You got to have somebody opposite him who can win, and Deontay Johnson can absolutely win one-on-one situations.
12th, LA Chargers.
Go, Chargers, go. San Diego Superchargers, San Diego Chargers. That right there was for my buddy doesn't like when I sing. So, by the way, just so you know, buddy doesn't like when I sing. A lot of people laugh at that. They bring it up. Anyway, Chargers, you're going to see them up close and personal. They were actually the other team, Jack, that put in a waiver claim for Deontay Johnson. But they lost the tiebreaker to the Texans, even though they have the same record. It goes by strength of schedule. Kind of wild that Deontay Johnson could have been going to the Chargers or the Texans based on that. That's like one time the Bills and Chargers both put in a waiver claim for me, and I could have gone either way. And I didn't know. They were both 8-8 the year before. I think it was like a coin flip before the draft. It's kind of crazy story.
11th, Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I still have them ahead of the Chargers because I feel like if they played a 7 games a neutral site, I would take the Broncos. But obviously the Chargers got the win last Thursday night in that game I called. Been a very good year for the Broncos, but it's not over yet. They haven't clinched yet, and they got to play at the Bengals, and they got to play the Chiefs. Now, fortunately for them, there's a decent chance that the Chiefs won't be playing all their guys. I mean, if you're a Broncos fan, it might not be easy for you, but you got to root for the Chiefs to beat the Steelers so that Mahomes and some of those guys don't play in Week 18.
10th, LA Rams.
Wow, I don't know that when they were 1-4, I certainly was not expecting the Rams to get back into the top 10 in the all-important Ross Tucker Football Podcast Power Rankings, but kudos to them. The longer I do this, the more I realize coaching really matters, and Sean McVay's really good.
9th, Washington Commanders.
Huge win, statement win, and the type of win that gives them confidence in the playoffs that they can win a playoff game or two. They might even have to go against the Eagles again in the wild card round.
8th, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Steelers have lost 2 in a row, but I don't think I don't knock them that much when you're playing at Philly and at Baltimore back to back. Now they have to play against the Chiefs. This is a tough end of the season schedule. Then they play the Bengals. We knew the Steelers had a tough schedule in the second half of the year, and here it is.
7th, Baltimore Ravens.
Boy, they look good. Really good, especially on offense against the Steelers, especially running the football. We'll see if they can pick up where they left off against the Texans tomorrow.
6th, Buffalo Bills.
Bills dropped several spots. Their defense is concerning in recent weeks, and they very easily could have lost at home to the Patriots. Bills, it does not feel like are playing their best ball right now, certainly not on the defensive side of the ball.
A shocker, 5th, Detroit Lions.
I'm concerned about their defense. I think some of these other teams in a series of games are probably better than them. Maybe I have them too low. They could very easily be the number 1 seed, and that'd be wonderful if they were. But I got to go by what I'm seeing right now. What I'm seeing right now is a team whose defense is gonna hurt them quite a bit right now in the playoffs.
4th, Minnesota Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings defense is pretty darn solid. I think Brian Flores done a nice job with them. And my concern was always Sam Darnold late in clutch games. He has really shown me something with the way he's played late in these games where they needed to win.
Third, Philadelphia Eagles.
Eagles, Eagles. We'll see what happens with the health of Hurts this week. I would expect them to bounce back, especially on defense against the Cowboys, but you never know. They're going to have to do it against a pretty tough Cowboys team that's won 4 out of their last 5.
Second, Green Bay Packers.
Major upgrade for the Packers, just like West Shore can help you upgrade your windows, your doors, your entire bathrooms, or the shower area. A lot of people love that. Only this week, they're looking to reduce inventory. They're already offering 25% off. Now it gets even better. Take an additional $2,000 off all shower and bath projects if you schedule your appointment by New Year's Eve. That's westshorehome.com/Ross, westshorehome.com/Ross. The Packers look like the real deal right now. They're beating people up front on both sides of the ball. They're young. They're healthy. They might have a tough road having to win 3 road playoff games, but the way they're playing right now, they certainly look like they're capable of it. I think you can argue they're as good as any team in football right now.
And first is the Kansas City Chiefs.
You know, they deserve it. I mean, first of all, they've played better the last couple games. Secondly, I don't care that they don't win by as many points. All that matters is whether or not you win or lose the game. And they find a way to win over and over and over again. It's super impressive. They deserve to be number 1. Looking forward to seeing them in person, second time this year, tomorrow when they play against the Steelers. We will have a Picks Wednesday tomorrow morning. Definitely check out Even Money Betting Podcast and Fantasy Feast Part 1 today so you guys can enjoy all these games starting tomorrow. I love when you guys rate and review the show. It means a lot. Or please engage if you can on social media, at Ross Tucker NFL, at Ross Tucker Pod. Have a terrific Christmas Eve, whatever the traditions are in your family. Hope you guys enjoy every second of it. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. It's not too late. You can go to myfrontpagestory.com, order an incredible gift. It's actually the best last-minute gift ever. So you print out the order confirmation, put it in an envelope, give it to them on Christmas or even tonight, Christmas Eve, and tell them you're having a story written about them, which is absolutely incredible. They will love it. myfrontpagestory.com. The other shout-outs go, of course, to Pizza Boy Brewing, Sporticulture, HumanHeadNYC.com, and BackOfficeScheduler.com.